Security camera footage obtained first by Spectrum News, showing the moment Congressman Jamal Bowman pulled a fire alarm in a congressional office building, despite there not being an emergency.
I hate the confusion that it caused, and I really hate that, Capitol Police and other resources had to be used to respond to this. So I'm really apologetic about that.
The New York Democrat appeared in a D.C. courtroom Thursday, pleading guilty to one misdemeanor count. Under his plea agreement, the charge could be dismissed if Bowman stays out of trouble for the next 3 months, writes a letter of apology to Capitol Police, and pays a $1,000 fine. The incident happened on September 30th, as Congress was in the throes of trying to pass a funding bill to avoid a government shutdown, and Bowman says he was rushing to the House floor for a vote. The surveillance video shows Bowman pushing on a set of doors labeled emergency exits from inside the Cannon office building before turning and pulling the alarm. Bowman eventually found another way out of the building. Investigators say while en route to the House floor, he passed several police officers without appearing to tell them what happened. The alarm forced the evacuation of the building for more than an hour, but not the House chamber itself.
I was in a rush to get to a vote to avoid a government shutdown.
Staten Island Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, a Republican, blasted Bowman's punishment as a slap on the wrist. She's already introduced a resolution to expel him from the House, accusing him of trying to delay a contentious vote.
Frankly, if this was his school, he would have suspended or expelled the student. And so that is exactly the type of action that we as members of Congress should take.
Another Republican lawmaker has proposed kicking him off committees and censuring him, a public condemnation that stops short of an expulsion. Now, I asked Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, obviously of Brooklyn, the top Democrat in the House of Representatives, if he believes what Bowman pled guilty to in court today rises to the level of censure. He told me, quote, "Not in my view." And just if you're keeping track of this in terms of the calendar, the next hearing in this case, a review hearing to check in on if he's met all the conditions of this probationary period, is set for the end of January.
So, Kevin, watching that video, it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. Like, I don't even understand if that corroborates his story or if it doesn't. It looks like he tries to get out and then sort of rips off the emergency signage there before pulling the alarm. Like, how do we make sense of what's happening there?
Your guess is as good as mine. I was kind of struck when I looked at the video, like how quickly this all seemed to play out in real time. There was not seemingly a lot of particular analysis or thinking going on as he kind of brushed through the sign, knocked one sign over, knocked another sign over, and then turned to the alarm. It's a bit unclear what was going on.
All right, let's talk about Congressman George Santos of Long Island. He is actually due back in court tomorrow, and also there is movement in the House to actually have him expelled from the House, an resolution being introduced by Long Island Congressman Anthony D'Esposito. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
People have seen over the last 10 months what a fraud he is. I mean, you read either indictment, there's a clear outline that lays out the fabrications, the lies.
Enough is enough. That certainly he has admitted to enough of the actions that he's been accused of, and then the confirmation from his treasurer a number of weeks ago about a criminal conspiracy to defraud donors, to defraud the Federal Election Commission, I think will be enough to bring 2/3 of the House to agree with the resolution.
So, Kevin, these New York Republican members of Congress, House Republicans, want to see him expelled from the House. I mean, could that actually happen? It seems like the Republicans would be unlikely to expel one of their own when they already have such a thin majority in the House.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the calculus since early on, is really the math equation that is the House of Representatives, where Republicans only have a handful more seats than the Democrats, and one could imagine if there was a special election in that seat, a Democrat would have a good chance just by the mere fact that constituents are likely exhausted by everything that George Santos represents and the party that he comes with. That all said, if you remember, these Republicans in these front swing districts, they are facing and looking at their 2024 election results, election chances, I should say, as well. And so could George Santos be a bit of an albatross around their neck? They always kind of deny this when I ask them that question, but one has to imagine that's part of their thinking. One other piece here is that all of those frontline Republicans ultimately did not vote to expel him previously when Democrats attempted this, instead sending it to the Ethics Committee. What they say is different this time around is the fact that you have the superseding indictment, you have that deal from the treasurer, so the accrual of charges is only growing.
All right, Kevin Frey in our Washington, D.C. bureau, thank you for that report.